Hi, good morning, guys. This is Dandelion Song, and I'm not going to have an intro on this one. I'm just going to try to pop this up ahead of all my other ones. I just had a really crystallization of what needs to be done here. Because they are heavily pounding the idea of killing the bride of Christ, as I've shown in my videos, and having to do with the number 816, which is the bride of Christ number. I want to, first of all, I need to educate myself, and I thought I'd bring you along with me about what is the bride of Christ idea. My feeling in my heart about the bride of Christ idea is that this is a word that when they wrote the Bible, they must have, in the earlier texts that they took the Bible from, there must have been something about the maturation of cycles and the maturation of the sun cycle. And from reading of the ancient Mayan, and I have some ancient Mayan videos coming up for you, from reading the ancient Mayan, I believe that the ancient Mayan had a feeling that the sun cycle was also a soul maturation cycle. And it did include some times of lots of challenges, but also that the sun, as it has with the zodiac, the different years, the different months of the zodiac put out slightly different solar magnetic particles. They affect the conception of a child. A child's personality is formed at its conception, not its birth. We just have it associated with birth, and that's because of the way the controllers wanted it to be. But it's actually conception. So, but anyway, the sun. It's kind of like, it's not like we need to worship the sun. I'm not saying that, so don't freak out. But the sun is almost like a clock, or maybe a textbook. Like, say you went to a university and you have a big textbook of everything, and it forms all of the different aspects over the millennia of everything that you're going to need to know to graduate this school. And then there will be graduations. So I feel like when they came up with the Bride of Christ idea, there is a lot of truth in this word Christ, and it does cross over many cultures and many religions. So if you can, like, close your eyes and feel the feeling in your heart about the word Christ, and kind of leave all the mental dust and collection, even from this lifetime and every other lifetime that you've accumulated, about the meaning of the word and the associations and the times and everything that you've been taught scholarly about it. You can feel the feeling in your heart about it, and that is the same feeling, I think, that goes across religions, having to do with these great teachers and these times of when many people reach a certain level of evolution and are ready to graduate this school. This is, I really believe this quantum random frequency generator is a creation from a loving creator, not, his name could be Yahweh, and then they took it and distorted it for lower Yahwehs to speak through that microphone. But I have a feeling that it's not Yahweh, the name of the higher loving creator, the one that I guess I prefer to leave it nameless. But this world was not created for suffering. The suffering was built into the Bible for you to think that was normal, and I want to do a video on that, but that's another video. But it's not made for suffering, and it's not made for anything evil. All the challenges here are meant to be enriching to your soul, so that you will learn. And actually, it's made to teach you in the most loving way, not the most brutal or cruel way. It's supposed to be the most loving way. Well, anyway, that is the creator of this quantum random frequency generator that we are in. And if you go out to nature, you see the natural fractals. That is the purest fractal interaction that you are going to have with the intention of the highest creator. And even looking at nature, even if you look at it through a computer screen, is healing to you, but especially if you look at it straight on. And especially if you look at a wild species, not a hybridized species, which that's mostly what we have in the city. And that's why our trees don't grow with the purest fractals, but still they are much purer than, say, a wall or television. So but that's how you get the closest to the intention of the Creator. It's the undisturbed creation. And then if you have that feeling of Christ inside your heart, that feeling of what it means, I think you might agree that it means the highest evolution, that the graduation point that you can reach from this school. And so when they were writing the Bible, they were aware of these cycles. And the problem for them, as the controllers, I'm going to say the long-lived Anunnaki who got caught here, and they might be Pleiadian, I'm not saying that all Pleiadians are bad. Some Pleiadians got caught here and they're long-lived, and the problem is they can't get out. So, but the other problem is for them is they need to control the population of humans because we're very powerful and there's too many of us to control. But likewise, we can't leave them altogether because they need us. They need us for food, work, and also genetic. They're trying to merge. They're trying to merge with our species as a door out of here because we are the door. They can't get out without us. Or they think they can't get out. It's possible that they actually can't get out without us, or else they think they can't get out, one or the other. They've sinned so badly that I'm pretty sure that it would take them a long time to get out on their own effort. Well, here we have lately in the news, we've had the killing of Cecil and the killing. I'm just going to say that these people probably really died. Alison and Cecil and the other ones. I'm going to tell you they did not die on camera. I just have that feeling in my heart that they actually did use these people for some ritual blood sacrifice. There's blood sacrifice in the numbers, so I think that they actually killed them. If I didn't see blood sacrifice in the numbers, I would think that this was just a hypnotic programming event. But I think they really did kill these people. But they didn't do it on camera. They took them to a special ley line convergence point, and, you know, they did a bunch of spooky stuff, and it was terrible. So that's what I think happened. However, so what they did some magic, dark magic, on killing the bride of Christ. And the reason why they did that is because they are at a desperation point where all of the people are about to graduate this level. And they don't want, they need us. They don't need as many of us as there are, but they need some of us. So, so I think this is really the big enchilada, and it kind of came to me crystallized. I had a conversation with a sweet friend of mine, and he's very sweet. His name is George. Hi, George, if you're listening. And when he doesn't call me with answers, but when he calls me and I talk to him, the answers crystallize and they sort themselves out. You know, that's what talking to a good friend does. So I feel like I really understand why they are killing the bride of Christ in many forms, like in the form of Cecil, in the form of Alison Parker. There's probably other forms that I've missed. You know, I'm starting to think Elvis might be one of these forms. I don't understand it yet, but he was a twin. He was a Venus twin. And the bride of Christ has to do with Venus symbolism, of course, as we've seen with 9/11. So, also, I want to say, yeah, I left some comments on some other YouTube videos about this, and most of the comments back to me were like, "Oh my gosh, you've really lost it now. You know, most people think you're crazy if you think for yourself, and I know that I'm out on a limb where that's concerned." But one person who I wish I could credit, and maybe they are following my channel now, I don't know, but if you are, I just want to thank you for your comments. Somebody said, and I don't remember their name. They said, oh, did you know that Madonna is coming and she's going to the Washington, D.C., and she's going to have a show that's called something akin to the death and destruction of the Bride of Christ? And I was like, well, that is a really major key to the puzzle. And they're probably going to have that show on a certain ley line, probably there in Washington, D.C. And if you look back on the Renee M channel, Madonna has done some really spooky shows having to do with prophecy. And what her shows are meant to do, they're meant to be black magic rituals, and what they do is they draw in the quantum wave collapsing ability of her audience, which is the elite who go to her audience, and they are doing it on a certain ley line. So it's like a very, very special kind of church with a special prayer, and they lay, I can see this, I can feel it, they lay a bunch of ritual, heavy layers of ritual around these buildings, around the performances, around the words that they use. And so then it's kind of like a very powerful form of church when Madonna does this show. So that's what they're trying to create. And of course, like I've told you, they wrote the Bible, probably from some earlier texts, which may or may not have been propaganda themselves, but at least were probably clearer than the Bible that we have now. So they wrote the Bible, and in the Bible it says in Revelations, which is a 404 number, and has there's a lot of numbers associated with that. But in Revelations, the idea is that the woman who's giving birth to the new child, she is chased by the dragon, and then she's saved. The earth itself endeavors to save her and protect her child. Now, I need to study here to try to figure out, is that the bride of Christ? Is she symbolic of the bride of Christ, or is she symbolic of the birth of the new awareness of man? Or I'm not sure what is exactly going on. But if she is the bride of Christ, it seems like in Revelations she survives that. So I am curious, because it seems like they are talking about the death of the bride of Christ before the Feast of Tabernacles, which is the 28th of September. Now, the reason why this is important, and you might think, wow, she's, like, you can tell in my voice that I'm a little worked up about this. I'm not worried. I actually just want to say it before I forget how I want to say it. The reason why this is important to realize, and this is why I wish some other channels who have large audiences would listen to this and explain it to your viewers, even in your own view. It's important to, because what they're doing is they're creating a thought tube. It's almost like a prayer, a thought tube. It's almost like they're forcing you to pray for this outcome. By immersing you in this propaganda. You've been immersed in the Bible all this time. You've been immersed in oath-taking. You've taken oaths. Most people who are Christian, that's a lot of people. And Catholics is a lot more people. And other people who have disastrous end-time documents that were written by the elite, there's a lot of people. Those people are expecting a disaster. And they are relaxing towards it because they feel that it is the will of God, and they see themselves as sinful, and they're ready to let, God choose whether they graduate or not. Well, I invite you to take a look at this and think that this is a prime real estate for the dark to manipulate your mind. Now, if you believe that you are going to die before you get to the graduation point, it's almost as if your agreement is forming a prayer within your heart to that extent. And I know from experience, if you listen to my parasite video, that they can create a deadly event within you just by playing with your thoughts. And so when they have these news events where the bride of Christ is killed, they are hypnotically cementing in, almost like a mason. Isn't that interesting? They're just laying tiles and tiles and tiles on top of this brainwashing, like they're building a building on your brain about that the bride of Christ isn't going to make it. And, they've laid these seeds in the Bible about that you're sinful and you're not going to make it. You have too many mistakes. You need to go and talk to a priest about your mistakes, and you need to feel guilty. And those are the layers. And those layers will hold you from the innocence that you actually have. You are completely beautiful and innocent, and you have just been living in a very dirty, dark environment with nothing to hold on to except for a kernel of truth within your heart. And you're very brave and heroic, And I'm proud of you, and so a lot of people on the other side are proud of you. I can feel them being proud of you. So what you need to know is that you are ready to graduate. And actually the bar is not very high. Some people, some Christians think that the bar is very high, like if you did something evil in this lifetime that you won't make it. The bar is not that high. All you need to do is be more loving and more service to others, 51%, than you are selfish and willing to take from others. And that is a ratio, it's like an energy ratio within you, and it does fluctuate slightly, but most people are well above the 51%. And that is why the dark is panicking. They wouldn't panic. If they were really convinced that you weren't going to make it, they wouldn't be panicking. And you can see from the evidence that they're panicking. So you know that most of you are well above the mark. This whole thing about you need to ask JeZeus into your heart, that is not in the Bible anywhere. That's ridiculous. Ridiculous church propaganda. It's above and beyond the ridiculous level. So you need to break that oath. If you have asked JeZeus into your heart, you need to break that oath. If you want counseling and love and guidance from Yahshuah, then you need to ask for that. But I wouldn't do it in an oath form, because I don't think that that's how Yahshuah wants you to operate. I think you, as a part of your graduation here, you are meant to walk in darkness and choose the right way from the farthest inside of your heart, when you have not been led to the right way, that you choose it from the goodness that's inside your heart. And so you can of course ask for the wisdom, but I don't think that Yahshuah ever asks you for an oath. And there's 2 places in the New Testament that have survived for some reason, even though they killed the Cathars who were against oath-taking. There are somehow 2 scriptures in the New Testament where Yahshuah tells you to not take oaths. So I would take this opportunity right now to break any oaths that you have taken, any and all oaths, known and unknown to you, over any lifetime, because we've done it over many lifetimes. Okay, so this to me feels a little bit urgent, because I can see different timelines, and there are timelines in which people accidentally create more turbulence in the world than they actually need to create. And they do it because of this propaganda thought tube that's going on, in which these end times are coming, and you're just going to have to deal with it, and you're going to be lucky if you're chosen to, you're going to have to take what comes to you, basically. And I don't think that's the case. I think that you can undo that brainwashing with the power in your heart when you all of a sudden realize who wrote the brainwashing and the reason why they wrote it, and that Yahshuah or a loving creator would not do that to you. So you can still stand with Yahshuah, but I would not stand with JeZeus. Now, so I need to actually educate myself, because even though I had many Christian lifetimes and this one was Catholic, I still don't really know what's going on here with this exact idea. And I wish I'd like to understand this in terms of what are the echoes of this in the Torah. But let's take a look here. The Bride of Christ, or the Lamb's wife. Now, in the Illuminatus Observer, he talks about the tree of life being called, it's called the Lambdoma. And I did do a word decode on this word, and I think, I actually remember it's if you remember, it's the 13-13-13. And that has a lot of esoteric ties in it, and so I'm not really sure what the idea with the lamb is. Now, the guy Jonathan Kleckman, he says that the 2 towers are the wheat and the tares, or the wheat and the weeds, and they're also the lambs and the goats. So there's that symbolism of that a lamb is superior to a goat. I like to keep all symbolism in a category of maybe, because we don't know how it's all been, served up to us here on a silver platter. We need to look at the silver platter and figure out, is the right side up. So I offer that to you. And just keep in mind that we've seen the picture of Prince William holding a lamb by the back foot. I'd like to do a video on Prince William if there's time. I have a feeling they're going to take down the internet, and it's for some reason I feel like there's rushed time. Okay. So, sometimes the bride is implied through calling, I'm going to say Yahshuah the bridegroom. For over 15 years, the church was identified as the bride betrothed. 1,500 years. Now, this is not a long time. Okay, guys? This is 1,500 years. That is half of an Anunnaki year. That's 6 months to them. However, there are incidences where the interpretation of the usage of bride varies from church to church. I want to address that I'm having a little trouble breathing. Sometimes when I talk about things that are very important and they're sort of cutting edge, I notice when I'm doing this even to another person and it's not on video, I have trouble breathing. And what I think it is it's a higher channel of Holy Spirit, and that my body isn't used to it, and I think that's what that is. So I just want to address that in case you're realizing that I'm having a little trouble breathing. Okay. Okay, so that's 1,500 years ago. All right, in the Gospel of John now, John the Baptist. This is the guy that we see holding the chalice with the serpent in it. Okay. Oh, I'm going to pause this so I can just breathe for a second. Hold on. All right. A little bit more about the breathing thing. I learned a little bit more about this because I was watching the Harry Potter where they walk back into the room of the divinator, and she has a prophecy, and she puts her hand on, I forget the name of the professor, she puts her hand on Harry Potter and she gives him a dark prophecy, but actually if you know the whole story you can see that it's not a dark prophecy, but at the time it seems like a dark prophecy. And she has trouble breathing. She's having a lot of trouble breathing. And then she doesn't remember that later. Well, I think what happens is that she's actually interacting with a higher dimension, and she's pulling energy. You can almost see it like she's a wormhole or a tunnel for a higher energy, and it's basically challenging her physical body to pull that energy, to pull it through and speak it. And also the throat chakra has a little trouble with that. And I had an incident in my life recently where I was wondering something. And usually the answer comes to me, but I was getting the answer in the dream time, and I understood it, and I would wake up in the middle of the night, and I understood the answer, and I thought I had it, fall asleep, and I would get the answer again, wake up, and I thought I really had it. By the time in morning time, I'd come downstairs, and I didn't have it. So I was asking for it. What do I need to know? Well, then what happened is this person, I had a Harry Potter moment where this person who normally doesn't speak in this manner, it's not a teacher of divination, suddenly was out of character and couldn't breathe. This person couldn't breathe, and it was I was a little bit afraid at the time about the breathing problem. And anyway, this person basically delivered a prophecy to me, and it was extremely difficult for them to breathe. They had more trouble breathing than in the Harry Potter movie, and the person was signing to me basically what they had been telling me in a dream. And then I got the message, which I'm not going to tell you, but because I'm still trying to figure out what it means. Then 15 minutes later, the person didn't remember this event at all. And they still don't remember this event. And they actually think that I'm making it up, and I'm doing it to play with them. I'm not playing with them. They actually did this. But I wanted to explain that to you in terms of when really strong energy comes through, you sometimes have trouble breathing with it. Okay. Okay, I'm breathing a little better now. Let's see now. Christ is the bridegroom. Now, this has to do with the male and the female spiritual aspects, divine male and divine female. Now, within all of us, There's a mixture of divine male and female, and within the most balanced of us, it is the most balanced. So when you meet a very evolved male, he will have a very evolved divine female aspect of him, where he will be caring, understanding, and far-seeing. And he will also have the divine male, which is the ability to act now, make the decision now, and move forward with confidence and without hesitation. If you meet a very evolved female, she will also have that. She will have the far-seeing, full embodied right brain, left brain, compassionate and understanding. She will walk away from judgment, and having trouble breathing in, she will have the ability to act now. No hesitation, confident. So that's what this is about. The bride and the bridegroom. Now, I was listening to the Illuminati Observer yesterday. I listened to the rest of his podcast that he had up, and he talked about why the dark do the cremation of care in the Bohemian Grove, and he can only speculate why they would do that. But what his speculation was that they are trying to kill the divine female that actually is arising within them. So the owl is a sign. He says, his name is Dennis Fetch. He says that the owl is a sign of Isis, and she's the divine female. She's the spoken word, and she's also the word that you hear. And that's why when they do this, they're not. It's not a document. It's not a book reading, a ritual. It's a speaking and listening and chanting ritual. Where they do the cremation of care at the Bohemian Grove by the owl, and they're trying to darken the symbolism of the owl. This does not mean that you should go out and buy owls and have them in your room, because all of those commercial owls that you see out there, they have dark ritual attached to them, and you don't want them in your homes. And any money that you have, you just basically need to bless it, because it has a dark ritual owl on it. Okay, well anyway, so they are trying to kill the divine female within them, and without on the outside of them, because when all the leaders go there and they need to maintain their high level of cruelty and their high level of inhumanity. But the problem is the watchers who fell, the fallen angels, they had to mix with humanity. So they feel like they're contaminated with compassion. So they have to go and have these rituals to cleanse themselves of care. So they try to cremate care. They turn it to ash. That's another word, because ash is another word that I want to bring to you. And that's why you see the word ash in a lot of elite names and circles and fire type of rituals. Okay, well anyway, that has to do with the divine female. Now, if you see, I'm just kind of going on this from my own experience of like tying all the pieces together. If you see Christ as the active, and if you look back in time, even if you think of all of our good prophets, all of our teachers who have come, by whatever name, when they've been good, that is a male principle. I don't know if they've always come as male, in their bodies, if they've been balanced males, or if they've come in twin sets, or if they came as females. I don't know. But when they came, that movement of coming to make a difference, to make a decisive difference, to make a change, that you can tell when it's getting true, because I have trouble breathing. When they came, that was the movement of the divine male, and it was the movement towards the female, towards the passive, which is us. We are the people we're like the garden waiting for the seed, okay? So that would be us, the passive, but we are growing and about ready to graduate, and that means that we are growing so if you think of us as the body or the bride of Christ, we are increasing in our divine male, and we will be healing the divine male. And as you can see, our world has had a lot of male energy, but it hasn't been divine male energy, because the divine male moves in a balanced way. And what we have seen is male energy, but it's not balanced with compassion, and it's not balanced with love. And, if you look at that care cremation of care ceremony, you can see why it hasn't been balanced with love, because they are purposely and intentionally trying to cut the care off of it. They're trying to, that's the motherly energy, that's the female energy. They're trying to suppress the divine female because it just brings balance and it brings sanity. So I don't know if you can see us, you know, if you go back, if you think about Earth and you think about whatever this sun cycle is of this level of souls, and in the Mayan they talk about this is the 5th age right here. And that's really interesting to me because I've been looking at all these V's, all the V symbolism. It's in the Ram, it's in the Taurus, it's there's a lot of V symbolism everywhere, and the Nazis have kind of taken it on. But the Mayans talk about we are in the 5th age. This is the 5th age right now. So this is a new crop of graduates, you could say. And if you go back, if you think in your heart, you know, you connect your spiritual eye to your heart and you visually go back with your heart to the beginning of this sun cycle, which would be the beginning of this age, you would see that we were very helpless, passive, and you could see that we are, you know, we were like children, and it would be more like female, that we need to be protected, and we need to learn as we go. And to this point, now we are ready to graduate, we're ready to balance, and we're ready to meet the Christ, and the kingdom will be within. And it will also be without, because that's the nature of the quantum random frequency generator. When we have the kingdom within, the kingdom will also be without, because that's how we will collapse the wave. So I believe that's what we're talking about here. But they want to program you to think that you are going to die, that your body is going to die before you integrate the Christ energy. Well, so maybe we need to make an effort, and if it feels right to you, you could use your own power that Yahshuah taught you that you have to cast out demons and create miracles and say to the mountain, move. You could say through your own prayer time that you ask for the brothers and sisters who maybe you haven't even met yet, who are trapped by oaths and trapped by false programming, who might be believing that they are going to die, that you, by your own power, ask that they be relieved of this lie, because somewhere in their heart they wish to be relieved of this lie. So you're actually working on their side. You're actually answering a prayer for them. So you ask with the power of your own heart and from the power of your own truth that whoever wishes to be released of this lie would be released, and whoever wishes to be released of oaths, whether they listen to my video or not, or have studied about oaths, you know, maybe they're working 10 hours a day and taking care of 6 children at night, and they don't have time to look at videos. But you could reach across time and space through the heart field to them and ask that they, if they wish to be free of oaths, if they wish to be free of lies, that they will be free of lies and oaths. And you can do it through your anchor of truth, which is your Christ center. And that's why Christ said, do it in my name, because that's the name of Christ. So if you do it in that, basically you are anchoring, you're accessing the Christ energy with your request, and your outcome will only be good. You can only do good things, and also you're intentioning to assist people who are wishing for this. Somewhere in their heart they are wishing for this, and if you're sensitive, you can feel this. You can even see this. If you go to the grocery store, you can see this in their eyes of the people standing next to you. They're wishing to be relieved of the lie and to be told the truth. It's in their eyes. You can see it. All of the beloveds that are out there. So I wanted to really talk about this, and I have a lot to learn here. And it's hard to learn from the Bible because it's made for distortion. And it would probably take me a year to go through each bit and sort out the distortion from the non-distortion. I want to buy an Aramaic Bible. I used to have some Aramaic scripture, and I don't know what I did with it. But let's just look at this one. Then the kingdom of heaven will look like 10 virgins who took their lamps and went out to meet the bridegroom. Now, a lot of people are going to count themselves out of this equation just because they aren't virgins. but we don't understand what this word means. This could mean somebody who uses their energy as wisely as possible. If you study the Toltec teachings, they don't have any moralistic teachings about sexuality. They talk about you can only use sexuality if you have a lot of extra awareness and chi. Otherwise, you probably shouldn't engage in sexuality at all because it drains your awareness. This could be somebody, this could mean somebody who uses their awareness carefully. If they choose to make a beautiful child with it, that is their careful use of the energy. If they choose to use their awareness to strengthen their dream time and strengthen their own ability to see and to purify and straighten their inner, energy field, then that is the use of their energy. If they choose to use this to straighten out any mistakes they've made throughout their life by the power of forgiveness and to, forgive everyone in their life, that's the use of their energy. So we actually don't know what this word means. I just offer that to you because Isis was not virgin. And and what it says in the Egyptian knowledge is that she was parthenogenic. And that means we are talking about another race. So what they might be saying is if you are like this race of Elohim, if you become like them, you are bordering on being parthenogenic yourself. And maybe that is part of the graduation, I'm not sure. A lot of people don't have that possibility in their awareness because of all the nature that we've been taught. But there are parthenogenic species here on Earth too. Anyway, I just want to tell you that we don't really know what this word means. I will do a decode on this word and see if I can dig out some more meaning out of this word. Okay, so then the kingdom, and we have the dome here, and I think I've done this word, and I will do this word, lamps. This is a really important word, and went out to meet the bridegroom. So I just want to also tell you from my memories of before this incarnation, in the higher dimensions, from my memory of this, everybody when they cross over and they take their resting time from this world, they cross over to their own level of heaven, and so everybody has a different level. And so some people, like I know there's a lady who wrote a book about heaven, and I can't remember what her name is. She's really famous though, and she says that all the buildings are in certain places and everything's. I think she's talking about the fifth dimension, and she talks about it from a standpoint of that is the only heaven. And then there's going to be other people who read that who think, well, that's not what I remember. But everybody needs to realize that there are different places where different people go to rest between lifetimes. And my memory is that I go to a place where there are no bodies. There's only energy field. So when we go out to meet the bridegroom, to me this means this is a merging of energy fields. And I think that's also what happens, with the bridegroom. Like if you think about the wedding feast or the marriage night or the sacred union, that is a merging of energy fields. So I just offer that. Okay. I want to study more about the 816 now that I feel like I really understand that the 816 is about the bride of Christ. I think that's the core idea of it, and everything else is pointing towards that. So I'm going to stop this video, and I'll probably have a part 2 on this where I'm going to go through and try to find out the important parts of this, and it's just so that I can study this and be able to speak in a somewhat learned way about the bride of Christ, because really all I have is my childhood. All right. Well, I hope you guys are having a good day. If you find any more information about this or anything that's helpful about the 816, or any other big 816 events. For example, the okay, what's his name? Why am I just having trouble thinking? I have a video. Oh no, I think I didn't put that video up about the guy who he plays Obama in a few movies, including it's Deep Impact or Armageddon. His step-granddaughter was supposedly killed in an exorcism, and I ran the numbers. It's all very strange, and I can't remember now if I found Bride of Christ numbers, but because she was killed on a Bride of Christ day, and the symbols were inverted, I can't remember her name though. I think it was Elena, but I'm not sure. So she was killed on the 8/16 of this year. And the address where she was killed matters, and her connections to different people matter. But I do believe, now that I know what I know about this Bride of Christ type of idea, I do believe that she was symbolic of the Bride of Christ, and she was actually killed by her boyfriend. So that is an interesting spin that they put on this. So what they are trying to subliminally tell you with that is that your fiance, I don't know if they were fiance or not, but your fiance or your the person that you trust, you can't trust them. So this is a classic thing that the dark tries to do, where they try to turn you against your safety. So if this story, for example, did happen, it would be that the boyfriend became possessed, and then he made a show of depossessing the girlfriend, who ended up dying from that. So that was a very scary story. But I think there is a Bride of Christ idea in there. And I only bring it to you so that we can understand how they are twisting the symbolism to demoralize our brothers and sisters who are just going about their day, reading the newspaper, listening to the radio in the car after they worked all day, and they're going home to their families. These are our innocent brothers and sisters, and these are the stories that are being put on them, and we can see the symbolism that's underneath them. So if you guys can help me understand these symbolisms, you can actually, if you internalize this understanding in your heart, you actually create a heart field around you of this understanding, and you affect the people next to you and around you and in your city with a different understanding. Even if you don't speak to them on the subway, just them standing in your heart field will engage an opportunity for them to access that understanding and to be released from some of this programming. Okay, I hope I didn't go too far out on the esoteric field for you guys. All right, love you. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.